The Fitch-Rona EMS Commission meeting is called to order at 7 o'clock. We'll do a roll call.
I do have that list here. Michelle isn't here. So Strassman.
Here.
See her there. Connie. Rahila.
Here.
First names, last names. Roberts.
Here.
Cronin. I saw her mouth move here. Johnson.
Here.
Kaiser McHenry said he was going to be absent. Lonsdorf.
Here.
Schnapp.
Here.
Lugenbuehl.
Here.
I am here. And Chief Dostalik is not here, so we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, we had no public comments, so we'll move on to approval of the minutes from July 15th, 2022. Everybody get a chance to look at them? Any comments? If not, a motion to approve would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the July minutes.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor of approving the July 15th minutes as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The minutes as submitted for July 15th are approved. And now we'll move on to review changes and considerations of the policy for holidays, vacation, personal days, sick leave, and other benefits for non-represented staff. Oh, pardon me, okay. I'm sorry, I was reading it wrong. We'll move on to the chief's report. Patrick, take it away.
Thank you. So you can see up the screen, this was emailed out as well, the usual stuff we see here. So call volume, like I say, call volume was a little bit down last month, but it was still 342 calls. So we're still pretty up there, pretty high. It was 2.2%, hitting at 4,200 for the rest of the year. So right where we were planning on it. Other stuff that you see on there is pretty par for where it is. This doesn't have the updated numbers that I had mailed out to you, but so it's missing the some of that new information that I had started to share up there. All of the trucks being out on calls. August was actually 21 times, similar to what we've seen the last couple months, and then compared to a year ago, it was actually 31 times a year ago. So there's, again, frequently, it was only the number 6 is up there. That has gone up one time since last month. So it's only been one of those times where we actually had so many calls we required additional assistance. That was the city actually came in to help with that one. But again, just informational sharing that 21 times last month we were completely out of resources with all of our vehicles on calls. It actually happened again just before the commission meeting. Was actually out helping as well. All of our trucks were out. We had 2 calls in Fitch-Rona at the same time and one out in Fitchburg. So getting busy. Not that. As we look at that next truck in there, it's not necessarily the volume of calls. It's the number of calls happening at the same time, right? It's that capacity, I guess, is a good word for it. Otherwise, the calls per day is there. As far as our training this month, there's actually she's a physician from UW Hospital, has actually been doing our consortium training. Very much an expert in her field on overdoses and recovery. So it's been a phenomenal. We had it last Wednesday. We'll have it again this Wednesday. Alliant Energy Center has been keeping us pretty busy. Other information that you see up there is pretty par. This is probably the first time we've actually seen these numbers. Station 3 here in Fitchburg actually topped the number of calls than the other 2 stations last month. So it was pretty actually even last month. As far as the financials go, you'll see they're kind of where they usually are. It's a little high on that 180-day plus. I will be reaching out to Three Rivers to kind of find my guesses. They've just, as our volume has gone up and our income has gone up, they're just probably trying to keep up with that increased volume. They probably just haven't got to that tail end yet. That 180 days, they kind of get that final review, and that's when they get moved to either the collection agency or they get moved over to tax interception. So we started doing that about 2 years ago, and it's actually been pretty remarkable what we get from tax interception every month. So, and we get 100% of that recovered. So that's actually been a positive thing for us.
Patrick, can you explain what that is? Sorry.
Sure. So providing we get good information, right? Name, date of birth tends to be very Social Security number driven as well. It actually gets reported up to the Department of Revenue. We are considered a municipal entity. So when people file their tax returns, if they owe a municipality money, we get put in that queue, and if they're due a tax refund, that money actually comes to us. They don't get that money back.
Okay.
So again, we're in that pool with every other municipality who's involved with tax interception. So we rate very low on that pool of people, but we do get some. Like I said, it's not a huge number, but it's more than we would have gotten had we not gotten paid at all.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Our cash on hand there, right, we just got our July or our June checks from the municipalities, so that's the funding that's going to carry us through the end of the year. That's why that number is so high. Everything else is pretty par for the course. The FAP funds that you'll see, we did get our FAP funds for the year, so that number did go up to that 22,000. And then you'll see the ARPA funds that are in there that I had mentioned last month. I did kind of work with coordination. I said Jeff and I were kind of talking about where to spend the Road to Recovery funds. One of the discussions was we were kind of leaning towards either radios or some other stuff that would help offset the cost of that ambulance in a couple more years. After talking to the company who we purchase our ambulances from, one of the ideas we came up with is actually to purchase a new cot. When we purchase new ambulances, we purchase new cots, and current cots run anywhere between $18,000 to about $22,000 per cot. Reaching out we use Stryker as the company that does that. As I was talking with our ambulance salesperson, the cost of a Stryker cot was going up 4% October 1st and another 6% on January 1st. And we aren't even looking at a cot in another year and a half. So we do actually have a cot that is 11 years old. We've been keeping it kind of around. I'm glad the intent was to sell it when we sold the last ambulance. We didn't. Usually we can sell it kind of off market ourselves and get a better cost on it. No one was interested. Glad we kept it when we had one of our other cots actually have a catastrophic hydraulic failure, and we waited 2 months to get the parts to get that one fixed. Kind of, dawning on me that's great. We have an ambulance that functions. If I don't have a cot to put in, I can't use it. So again, kind of fortunate we kept that. But what I did then is reached out to Stryker and purchased a cot. So that cot will actually replace that 2011. It'll go into that new ambulance when we get those new ambulances. And then in 2 years from now, we can kind of see where that costing is, that either the cost of the ambulance, what we use and all the stuff inside of it will go down, which I highly suspect is not going to be the case. But we can potentially reroute that money towards purchasing radios or something else that can go in that ambulance that we normally wouldn't have put in there. So that was the long story about our ARPA funds are still sitting there. That cost's not going to come until after the first of the year when we'll receive the other half of those ARPA funds. But we'll be able to put that cot then back into service and again help us save in about a year from now. So those funds are, I want to say spent, but they are now designated, and that cot has been purchased, and we won't pay for it till it's delivered. I don't know how long it's going to take to get the cot. Apparently the battery chargers are in plenty because I have received the battery charger for the cot. So we will be paying for that. So you'll see a cost come out of there for next month. Because of course it's a remodeled cot. That's why it actually costs a little bit more, but it's a lighter weight cot, right? All of this improved safety features, which, added another couple $1,000s to it. But when it comes, I'll make sure that we bring that or show that off on a commission night. Again, more reflectiveness. It actually is lit underneath, so as they're moving in a darker environment, they can see where they're going. It's longer, it's wider, lighter, wheels go up faster, lithium-ion battery. It's like crazy fancy cots, all wirelessly connected. If it airs out, it sends a message. It's crazy stuff. But fancy cot, those ARPA funds are purchased or used. The rest of the stuff down there is the normal expenditures. No donations this last month. Brandon Ryan, who's one of our full-timers, this is his 11-year anniversary this month, so congratulations to him. Other notes I have down here to share with you is an update on contract negotiations. We have met twice. Essentially, we're in the middle of all of it. We have 2 more meetings scheduled in 2 weeks from now, and then again another one in October. Fingers crossed that will be resolved by then. That's kind of where it is. If you have any more questions, I'm sure Terry would love to tell you and take that conversation offline. Otherwise, what I have on there is just the expenditures for the ARPA funds. As far as, let me pull up the current financial update for you, the in-house operating budget. So you'll see that up in the big screen. This was also emailed out to you. Doing pretty good on run revenue collection, still budgeted to be a little bit over where we have been in the past. Have received all our money from the municipalities. Thank you. Significant number of contracted events income in there. You know, that's a lot of that, the COVID stuff. Remember, most of that we're not really, we're making a little bit of money off of that to kind of help offset fuel and supplies, but most of that is what you'll see down there in overtime expenditures. What you'll see is over what that that budgeted line is. The reminder, that big old 226% over the sick time cap, that's the number that came out when Kyle retired. So that's why, you'll see that being so over when that WISC account comes due, because that's in a CD that we get penalized if we touch. So when that comes due for renewal in, I believe, October, November, we will pull the funds out of that and put them back into the general operating budget. You'll still see that 226% because the line had to come out of somewhere, but those funds will go back into the operating budget to offset what that expenditure towards Kyle's payout was. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be a huge surprise based on the couple months of significant gas costs that we're already tapped out for our fuel for the year. Hopefully it's going back down, which is good. But same thing with medical supplies, tune-up and repair. Right, we're just up. Personnel recruitment, as I shared last month, we just brought on 4 new LTEs for our paramedic LTEs. 3 of them have completed their training and are out on the roads. We got a 4th one who was gone in August, so she has actually just started her orientation. And then we have 4 EMTs who will actually start volunteering with us. So essentially that's why all of that is cashed in, is we've had to get them in they get pre-employment physicals, drug screens, and some uniforms. Other line that kind of really jumps up there is the medical equipment maintenance and safety equipment. That catastrophic cot failure, that's included in there. Essentially, that sucked up all that was remaining in that medical equipment maintenance line. The other thing we did was actually work with Stryker to kind of price out a preventive maintenance program. So they worked with us well to, essentially we pre-purchased a maintenance program that covered that repair. But by doing that, then we actually put that cost on all of our cots. So we were paying for it this year, which means all of the expenditures that we normally have for the preventative maintenance for all of the cots we have, plus that auto load that automatically lifts the cot and puts it in the trucks. There are batteries in there. So that maintenance program pays for the maintenance of the preventive maintenance of all of that, plus the handful of times I have to call them because a piece broke off of it, or it is just surprising how the cap of an IV or something rolls underneath that thing and completely shuts it down, right? There's all these little moving parts in there. So we got to try to get everybody to sweep up the floor, because rocks and snow and rock salt gets under there and it'll just get jammed in that little fine, right? Not design flaw, but it is what it is. So that's why it is so high, because we actually purchased that for this year and we have it on there for the next 3 years. kind of, it is in the budget for next year to pay for that maintenance program again for the next 3 years. We pay for it annually. And in the long term, then we won't get hit with those $6,000 charges because it will all be covered under here. So it's, again, kind of buying a car warranty and hopefully we don't have to use it. So again, that's just the other big number that pops out there. So as far as total expenditures for the year, we're at 68%, and we are at about 66% through the year because of those couple little hiccups. Any questions?
Yeah, I had one under revenue. There was a miscellaneous subtotal with a huge percent increase. I was just curious what that
The contracted. It's because it's adding that $95,000 that we've so far have got received from the Alliant Energy Center. So the actual on there is really high. The miscellaneous income. It's counting that $95,000 in there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I still need to tweak that just a little bit to kind of reflect that a little bit better and not, because 670%, 77% in in revenue.
Well, it was a positive. I was just curious what it was.
Yeah, as long as it's in the black, it's good. Any other questions for me?
Okay, well, thank you, Patrick. We'll move on to chairs reports from personnel. Derek?
So at the Personnel Commission meeting, we had a Personnel Commission a subcommittee meeting immediately prior to this. And we discussed a number of policies and adjustments to those policies, edits to those policies. I think the chief is going to talk us through each one. Is that how you want to?
Thank you. Let me throw them up there and give you a quick review of what we're talking about. Most of these are just kind of administrative updates. All three of them have to do with non-represented staff. What we did with this one is again, holidays, vacation, personal days, sick time, and other benefits for non-representative staff. Historically, this policy actually predates me when we had the two part-time chief and two full-time deputy chiefs. One of them was a 40-hour-a-week office position. The other one actually was a 48-hour position on the ambulance. So that's how they were originally defined as far as management and administrative staff. And so management was the 48-hour position on the ambulance, and then administrative staff was the 80-hour position not in the ambulance. That doesn't exist anymore. So it's Jeff and I. So what I did was went through and cleaned it up to kind of remove that just cleaned it up is what I did. So you'll see in there the language that says, and this got emailed out as well, it says chief officer staff. It's kind of clumsy. So one thing we did talk at the subcommittee about was actually just to change it and call it what it is and say chief and deputy chief positions. So anytime you see chief officer staff, we'll get rid of that clumsy chief officer staff and just call it chief and deputy chief. We did leave the administrative staff position in there. Currently, we don't have anybody who does that. Michelle is a 0.3. It's either a 0.3 or a 0.4. So she doesn't qualify for benefits. As we continue to grow, someday I'm guessing we will have an administrative person who's working more hours. So we did leave it in there. So what you'll see in there is we got rid of anywhere where it said management and made it, again, that chief or deputy chief hours because we are the non-represented staff. So defined it as 2080. The one that got sent out to you actually said 2040, so actually fixed that. But defined what that position is. Scrolling through here, corrected or updated some of the language. So it currently just said that anything over that 40-hour week was paid out at double time. Current practice is that we do a lot of flexing of our time. So it essentially kind of put a couple of different options in there and said you can get that paid out, you can earn comp time for that, or you can just flex those hours based on approval from the chief. For both, all of that approved for the chief. So that just brings it up to current practice, what we do. Again, predominantly what we do is flex our time, because then there's no true cost to the district in that, right? We put that time in. Updated it with that's the same thing as overtime as well. You know, if we do over a 40-hour week, then we just flex that time. Added some of the language in there to allow for paid time off, the prorated paid time off earned by an administrative staff person wasn't in there. So put that information in there. Same thing for accrual of sick time. Fixed the language in here to make it equivalent to because this still has us paying out, again, from previous practice where Fitch-Rona used to manage post-retirement, that conversion of post-retirement funds, sick funds to healthcare. We don't do that anymore. So this actually changes that language to reflect, again, current practice. So now as administrative staff, it gets paid out into the post-retirement healthcare just like the rest of the employees do and not managed by Fitch-Rona. Other correction in here, the one you got, that number was wrong, so I'll point it out for the one that's on here. For funeral leave, it only had 1 day in there. Currently, the representative staff actually gets 2 days, which is a week. I did adopt 3 days. I pulled up the city of Fitchburg's policy manual. The full-time staff in the city of Fitchburg currently get 3 days of bereavement pay. So that is what I put in here for our administrative staff. So our current practice matches what the city of Fitchburg offers. Again, changing language, getting rid of administrative management and putting that chief and deputy chief. I believe that's what the remainder of this is. So I guess that's what we talked about regarding this policy change at the subcommittee. The reminder that I shared at the subcommittee is our current process is, our current policy says that you can look at this and approve this tonight. It actually does go out to all of the staff for a 21-day input period. They have that opportunity to comment through the union. Those comments are collected and will come back to the subcommittee to review. They can review them, they can adopt them, they can make the changes, they can say thank you and move on from there. But it becomes effective tonight with, again, the potential to review it in 21 days or the next meeting.
To add to that, the Personnel Subcommittee is recommending approval of these changes with the chief, deputy chief edit. So we're recommending approval.
Okay, so we'll have the full commission if there's no further questions. We'll take a vote to approve with the modification as suggested. Is there a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor of approving the policy changes for holidays, vacations, personal days, sick leave, and other benefits for non-represented staff, signify by saying aye.
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 And anyone opposed? The motion to approve has passed.
Sure. So the second one up there, again, the same thing. The other next two are a little less they're more housekeeping type things. So this is the accumulated sick pay conversion to health and dental premium payments. This is again, previously when an employee retired, all their sick time was kept at Fitch-Rona, and Fitch-Rona managed the payments of that towards an insurance premium. With the 2019 union contract, took that out of the hands of Fitch-Rona and actually set it up to work with essentially an investment firm who manages post-retirement healthcare funds and HRA. It's the same one the city used. We looked at a couple different options and adopted that one. They're managed out of Janesville, as part of a bigger company. So as part of that, had to change our policy to move to that direction. Part of the policy, though, we still had kind of the Cindy Brian and Marty prior to 2019 retirees who Fitch-Rona still did manage that and sent them checks and managed all of that. As of, it was last year, the year before, Cindy had exhausted her benefits, Brian had exhausted his benefits, and we got Marty set up with our HRA. So there is nobody who retired for 2019 before that we are managing their funds. So essentially this can come out. That's the change to this policy.
We reviewed and discussed this change at the Personnel Subcommittee and recommend approval.
Okay, we'll take a vote of the full commission then. All in favor of approving, well, first of all, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the changes to the accumulated sick pay conversion to health dental premium payment policy, signify by saying aye.
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 And anyone opposed? The policy is approved as submitted.
Sure, the last one, again, changing things to current practices. So this is kind of that catch-all other benefits one. So for health and dental, the previous language in that employees, we would not offer insurance until 90 days after their first employment. Not really good practice in kind of the nature of the job that we do, right? We want people protected from day one. So we worked with GHC. What we do is up to us. So now new hired staff, again, this is only actually I think this is non-represented staff. Staff is eligible for health and dental insurance on the first day of the month following the first day of employment, as opposed to that 90-day waiting period. So what we tend to do when we work with employees, when we get them hired, we just don't hire them in the first, we hire them on the month before so that we get them insurance covered as soon as we possibly can and don't have to wait that 90 days. And that's been our current practice for our represented employees as well. So we changed that language in here. Other thing in here was just cleaning up some old language that came in with, we said it was Act 10 was part of that. Currently, the employer had the option to pay the entire state retirement. Act 10 did not allow that anymore. That language, however, never got removed from the contract or from our policy here. Again, only non-represented employees. So we removed the language, and we have been compliant with Act 10. Myself and Jeff pay our portion of our retirement into WS, and the district pays the other half. So struck the language out there. We haven't been doing it back to what we should be doing. And that's the only changes.
The Personnel Subcommittee recommends approval.
Okay, the full commission will take a vote on it then. Is there a motion to approve other benefits for non-represented?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the policy of other benefits for non-represented, signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The policy on other benefits for non-represented is approved. Finance did not meet, so we'll move on to review and approval of accounts payable checks submitted by Chief Anderson. Are there any questions about any of the checks?
I do have a physical copy if somebody didn't take a look at them online.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the accounts payable checks?
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the accounts payable checks as submitted by Chief Anderson, signify saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the checks for the account payable checks as submitted are approved. Next item is Gatsby 54 fund balances, which
And I don't think I mailed that document out or emailed that document out. Again, the reminder that that's just those, it's every month or every time we meet or there's any change in our restricted funds that you officially recognize that those funds are restricted, that we can't use them to pay other debts. So the only change that would have been made there since we met in July was the additional deposit of those FAP funds that brought FAP funds up to what we saw in the chief's report there, the $22,578.78. So that's the GASB.
Okay, so I guess we need a motion to approve the fund balances, since we have to do it every month. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second. Second.
Fund balances, signify by saying aye.
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 And any opposed? The Gatsby 54 fund balance for this month is approved. Anybody have any other business they would like to bring up?
I guess I would note on there, it's on the agenda that October is the annual meeting where all the municipalities are invited. So I guess I would ask that you please share that with your councils and the town board. It is the same Thursday, so it's October 20th at 7 p.m. Fact TV has graciously offered they will come back out to Verona for us. He hasn't committed to doing that for the rest of our meetings, but since we've been very accommodating coming up here, or, for the ease of IT stuff, so they will come back to Verona for us. So we will be in Verona next month on that Thursday, October 20th at 7 p.m. I guess I would ask and again encourage that you share that with the municipal boards to please invite them. I know traditionally we have a fairly poor turnout. That meeting is just the opportunity for some face-to-face stuff when you have to get the face-to-face time with them, reviewing the budget that you have all seen. That at this point the finance committee at the city of Verona has seen. Up in Fitchburg, we're to the point where I've shared it with the finance director, the city administrator, and the mayor. I think in 2 weeks from now, I actually meet with the city of Fitchburg Finance Committee. They will get to see it. But again, walking through that with our municipalities, as well as kind of sharing next steps where we're going with Fitchburg. So just would encourage you to please share that with the sitting boards and get them there.
Thank you. With that, I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. A second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
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 And if anyone's opposed, they can stay here. Otherwise, the meeting is adjourned at 7:33. See you all at the annual meeting next month in Verona. Have a good evening.
So long.